In the last couple of weeks, I have had several different people talk to me about Tony Robbins' new book, Life Force. Now, he wrote this with Peter Diamandes and a medical doctor and a researcher, and together they have put this book out there, and I wanted to react to it because I've bought the book, I've only gotten through chapter 1, but it really ties into everything that I think about life after 50 and things we need to be doing. That's why I started this channel. I want to have discussions about things all of us can do over 50 to be able to make sure that we live as long and as healthy and really as fruitfully as we can. So before I get into talking about what I've noticed about this book, the first thing is that Tony and the other authors do mention that they have a financial investment in a company, in an app that helps people kind of pay attention to what's going on in their life. I haven't looked at the app yet. It's called like Fountain or something like that, but they have centers all over the country. That starts sending off a few red flags for me, because if someone has a financial interest, then you have to start second guessing what they're saying. So just from the start, I've got to second guess just a little bit of the motivation behind this book. Plus, let's face it, Tony Robbins is not a doctor. Now, he does a lot of research and he's curious and he asks a lot of questions, and he has the financial means to go out and try all kinds of different things. He talks about in the book that he, instead of having surgery on his shoulder after an accident, he actually went to Panama to get stem cell treatments for his shoulder. And he's very, very straightforward that he thinks this was life-changing for him. I'm not a doctor. I know nothing about stem cell treatments. So I will say that it's interesting, and wouldn't it be great if there was something that could help us repair our bodies so quickly? But I do want to point out, if you're thinking of reading his book, that there's definitely a financial interest in some of the clinics and some of the healthcare businesses that the authors are invested in. And so that does set off a couple of red flags. However, just because somebody's invested in something doesn't mean that the information that they have isn't good and isn't worthy of looking into. But we live in this era where some weird things are going on because of everything we've gone through the last couple of years, where if you question science or you come up with new research, people automatically are seeming to want to cancel anything like that. But here's what I know. Medicine is not an exact science. Doctors don't know everything. When I was 15 years old, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, they told her after her surgery, after her mastectomy, that they had gotten it all. And as a 15-year-old, I believed what the doctor said. My mom passed away 3 years later. So I will tell you that I was really upset. Those were horrible to be a teenager and go through that. But I always remember what my father said, because I was mad at the doctors because they seemed to think that they had it all taken care of and they had it. And my dad said, look, medicine is not an exact science. Doctors are constantly learning. And at the time, my dad was 70 years old. And he said, over the course of his lifetime, things that people really believed about medicine aren't what we believed at this point in the 1980s. Well, what I've seen in the 30 and 40 years since then is it's true. If my mother was diagnosed today, the treatment that she got would not be the same as what she received in the early 1980s. So we have to think this through, that what we're learning about health and healthcare and nutrition and our bodies, it's always changing and things are moving very, very fast. So we can't just believe what any one doctor tells us or what any one person in the world of healthcare tells us, because there's all kinds of new technologies, there's all kinds of research going on. One thing that they talk about in this book by Tony Robbins, it's called Life Force, and he wrote it with Peter Diamandes and this doctor. The one thing that they talk about is the fact that there are all kinds of investments being made in biotechnology because of what we went through the last couple of years. There has been more venture capital money invested in the last couple of years in healthcare related fields than at any time before, which means the amount of things that are going to change, the amount of discoveries that are coming our way are great. So that's what makes me interested in this book. Now, somebody who's watching this will probably say, oh, you can't believe what Tony Robbins says. He's a huckster. He's this, he's that. I don't know. I don't know the guy personally. I admire what he's created, and I admire how hard he works and the research that he does. So I think that we have to give him the benefit of the doubt. Even though he's got a financial concern in some of these areas, I also think that he's right. There's a lot of changes going on in the world of healthcare, and we have to be paying attention. Now, I don't know anything about stem cell research, probably never will know anything about it. The odds of me having any of these things done, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of years? But I think that we should be asking questions and learning. I don't think that it's wrong to ask questions or want to get a variety of opinions, especially when it comes to your health. If you're over 50 years old, now is the time that you have to take ownership of learning about your nutrition, your health care, about exercise, about your mental health, about everything. Now is the time, if we're over 50, that we have to start paying attention to this because our bodies are changing. I'll tell you, at 55 years old, I feel those aches and pains. After I go out for a 3-mile run, I definitely feel it for a couple of days. The ability to spring back isn't what it was when I was younger. Therefore, if I want to stay healthy and live the best life I can, and if you watch any of my videos on this channel, you know that I made a declaration when I turned 50 that I was going to make age 50 to 75 the best years of my life, which means to do that, I have to become more knowledgeable about what age 50 to 75 and beyond, what that is all about. That's why I decided to read this book. Now, I'm only 1 chapter in. However, I do think it's interesting when he talks about how fast everything is changing. You know, think about this. For many years, treatments for any type of disease were what they were. Now, the statistic that he gave is every 18 to 24 months, things are changing in the world of medicine so fast, and it's probably just going to change faster. So we have to be prepared, and we have to be thinking, and we have to be thinking big if we want to make sure that we're going to be as healthy as we can as we live out our lives. The book is broken up into 5 sections, and I think there's 25 chapters total. So I'm trying to read 2 chapters a week so I can get through this in just a couple of months. But it looks extremely interesting. The first chapter is all about the life force revolution. And as I said, a lot of things are changing. There's a lot of research out there. Now, I also think that there's a lot of hucksters. There's a lot of people who are going to give false information. There is going to be so much fake news. And who knows, maybe some of the information in this book is fake news. But I think we should be asking the questions and gathering information because our lives are in our hands. We can't just assume the government's going to give us the right information. We can't just assume that we're going to know what to do if we face any type of health challenge. So he talks about the revolution and all the things that are changing in the world when it comes to this and all the researchers who are out there trying to find new ways to treat so many different things that impact us. The second section of the book, they talk about the heroes in the rejuvenative revolution side of all of this. And it's interesting because I want to read about these people who are actively doing the research and getting results. Haven't read it yet, haven't got to this section of the book, but I will tell you, I love hearing about people who are out there being innovators. My podcast is called Making Waves at Sea Level, C as in like CEO, CFO, because I'm fascinated to hear stories of people who are shaking things up and making waves. So I'm really excited about this second section of the book because I think that it's the people who are willing to shake things up and really revolutionize an industry. I think those are the people we need to turn to. Not all of them are going to be right. Some of them are going to be proven wrong, but it's interesting to study people who are willing to push the envelope and go farther. The third section of the book is all about what you can do now. And this is the part that excites me because I want to start doing things that aren't expensive, that aren't experimental. I want to start doing things when it comes to exercise, meditation, supplements, the food that I eat. I want to start doing things now that can help set me up to be healthy for as long as I can on this crazy journey that we call life. The fourth section is about tackling the big killers, the big things that are out there that are really going to harm us as a society, which is probably cancer and heart disease and so many other things. The fifth section is about longevity and mindset. I will tell you, I've gotten very big on if we change mindset, we change our life. I decided when I was 50 that I was going to go on this journey to make age 50 to 75 the best years of my life. And what I had to do was change my mindset. I had to change the way I look at things. I had to change the way I relate to people. I had to change the way I relate to myself. And by changing my mindset, I have already started to see more happiness, more success, just a better life. And so I think this section is going to be interesting because Tony Robbins is somebody who's been teaching mindset and really making shifts. He's been teaching it for 40 years. So this is a part of the book that's going to be very interesting. So after I complete the whole book, I'll probably come back and make another video. But I've noticed that there's a lot of people talking about this book, and I think if you're over 50, this is a book maybe you should read, maybe not. But if you're not asking questions about what's going on, what are the changes in the world of health and healthcare, then you're going to be left behind. And I think that some of these changes are exciting. I also think that some of them are never going to pan out. But if we look back in history, everything has changed over the years. I mean, if you go back hundreds of years, they used to put leeches on you. If you went to the doctor today and he said, hey, we're going to treat that by putting leeches on you, you'd be out the door. So we can't just assume that what was true yesterday is going to be true tomorrow. And I think that books like this that are futuristic, that are looking to where are we going and how can we get there, I think if you're willing to be open-minded, don't just automatically discredit it because Tony Robbins is that pound on his chest motivational guy. I think if you're willing to be open to the research that he's done and the people that he's partnered with, I think it'll be an interesting read, and you don't have to agree with everything. Here's the thing about being curious and asking questions. If you're curious and you ask questions, it doesn't scare you to come across bad information. So many people are worried about, oh, fake news. Oh my gosh, that's misinformation. Well, you know what? Educate yourself and make decisions for yourself. And then you don't have to be scared of things like this. But I think that the idea of where this book is going, about the changes in life, in the life force, I think that this is really important and interesting. And I think if you're over 50 years old, you've got to open your mind and start looking at ways that you can make sure you're set up to make age 50 to 75 and age 75 to 100 the best years of your life. Who knows if they're totally right about stem cells and about really this fountain of youth change of the way they're treating things? Maybe life isn't just 100 years. Maybe you'll live to be 150. And I'll tell you what, if you're 50 and you're going to live to be 150, you had better rethink how you think about everything, because we're going to have to go back to finances, to family, to jobs, to everything. Because the thought of living another 100 years, it almost is frightening to me, because that is so out of anything that's currently in the mindset that I have. But if you can change your mindset, if they can make advances in technology and you live to be 110, you only want to live to be 110 if you're going to be healthy and vibrant. You don't want to spend those years curled up in a ball while somebody feeds you and cleans you. So start thinking now, what can I do? So my recommendation is maybe this book, maybe other books, but start exploring. Start exploring what health and healthcare mean to you from 50 and beyond. Hey, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. This is only like my 6th or 7th video. I'm just getting it started. But my goal is for this channel to go on for a long time, because I want to make all the years ahead exciting for me, and I want you to come along on that journey.